Hi everyone, welcome back here. It's Oldemo Dave, and we've got another video today on the channel from our paper Standard Live. Yes, we are at the back end of a rotation, but we are still playing strong in Firestorm games in Cardiff. I'm here once again with Scott to look at Boros Convoke, one of the stalwarts of the format, against a deck that we really hope gets some pieces in bloomburrow, Azorius Control. What are your thoughts, Scott, on what we're going to see today?
I know a lot of people don't really like playing against Control, so you might be alone in hoping that it gets some pieces in bloomburrow, but we have an archetypal matchup here. We have a Control deck, we have an aggro deck, so Control deck looking to control the board, play a lot of permission, and win the game with Wandering Emperor tokens, that sort of thing, against the fastest aggro deck we've seen in Standard for a little while, so Boros Convoke uses artifact producers like Novice Inspector and Voldaren Epicure to make an artifact that they can then Gleeful Demolition, and then use that to convoke out a Knight Errant of Eos or play an Immodane's Recruiter and buff up their entire board and smash in for quite a lot of damage in one turn quite early sometimes.
Yeah, quite a couple of key cards and key points in both these matchups, which is going to be interesting to see. A lot of, we are in like what is actually like a 9, maybe 10, if I'm counting correctly, set standard now. Or no, actually it's a 12 set standard. So all decks have all pieces that they could possibly want. So things such as War Leader's Call is in Boros Convoke decks now to give them that little bit of go long. You've got every counter spell you'd like in the counter spell side. You've got Wandering Emperors Wandering Emperors will give you that win condition. There's more to this matchup than just single places, but there's a real big point on turn 3 where Boros Convoke really wants to be about to kill you. Otherwise, turn 4 is about to come and Control is going to lock you out of the game.
Yeah, so we do. I mean, it depends if you consider Aftermath a set or not, but there's actually 13 if you count Aftermath as well. So
Convoke, some, right?
Convoke opening up with a 1-drop. It's generally not a keepable hand if you don't have a 1-drop. Just a basic island out of Control. That's the kind of thing we normally see. Control normally only has spells that start at 2 mana on the curve, as opposed to, you do see some variants, especially in Modern, that sometimes play, well, now tune the narrative, but things like Preordain traditionally.
Yeah, this is a great start, and I think you would actually never even play your own Spell Pierce there, because you need this start to win game 1, which is Knight Errant out for the full whammy. Ideally, you hopefully have already got a 3-drop in hand, and we see an Immodane's Recruiter off this pile. Not seeing one there, but I think we are seeing some more gas.
Yeah, I think we see Warden plus Novice Inspector, so double Warden in fact. So Warden is not bad in the matchup. It's something that can grow by itself. So the most important card out of Control for the matchup is Temporary Lockdown, which exiles all non-land permanents with CMC 2 or less, or mana value 2 or less even. Mm-hmm. So that does a lot of damage to the Convoke deck. It hits their entire deck apart from Knight Errant, War Leader's Call, and Immodane's Recruiter. Yeah. And obviously those cards are all nowhere near as good if you don't have anything else to do.
I know, right? And Get Lost here is a big creature, but you get 2 maps, 2 very beautiful maps. And you can use those in this deck now, but it is the piece of removal that Azorius Control does have. This deck got so much more consistent on Boros' side though once the fast mana was printed a set ago, right?
Yeah, the existence of Inspiring Vantage was really, really, really important for the deck. It's a deck that traditionally used to play upwards of 3 Mirrex, which is not the right kind of mana that you want in the deck. So now they have access to Battlefield Forge, they have access to Inspiring Vantage, and normally a couple of Sundown Pass and a couple of Cavern of Souls as well. That's another card that's extremely important in this matchup. When you're playing a bit of a fairer game, you can use Cavern of Souls to drive at least a couple of creatures through the Temporary Lockdown, which through the No More Lies, sorry. But here we see a Temporary Lockdown, which is a one-sided board wipe here.
Yeah, it's was a deck that was a card that was like, oh, maybe in the sideboard, that in this exact deck has become an absolute mainstay in the main. A hard cast Sock and Sand to get in for some more gas. I like that. You know, you can't be counted. You know, puts some pressure on. Means that control just can't just stay there and keep saying no for the next couple of turns.
Yeah, it's not the greatest amount of pressure in the world. Novice Inspector is quite good because its absolute floor is a 3-mana sort of an Elvish Visionary where you can crack the clue immediately and draw a card. But there is an Imidane's Recruiter Attempted. That's the kind of thing Jenny needs after a temporary lockdown to get in. I can see it looks like No More Lies and Tidebinder. Yeah, so we're Tidebindering the trigger. So we're keeping up No More Lies because it's more mana efficient. So Sam's looking to use as much mana as possible on each of his turns to not fall behind to the extremely fast aggro deck.
Yeah, that's very smart because obviously a second one or like a War Leader's Call, you really would like to get that counted at this point. Happy to play straight into the Tidebinder. Obviously the Emperor just takes away the threat, and this is the point where control will turn the corner, but Jenny does have a lot of game pieces, and that is sometimes the name of the game. Have enough cardboard to produce plenty of threats.
Yeah, so it's the situation that Control really wants to be in, where they've got game pieces on board as well, they've got cards in hand, and they've got their mana underneath them, while still being at a relatively healthy life total. So being at 14 life is still okay, and we do see that clue cracked, even, as I said. So Jenny, keeping cards in hand for a red-white aggro deck, this deck can really keep up on cards. So between Knight Errant and the clues, it can really keep up on the cards. But looking at Sam's hand, it's not looking great for Convoke. So there's a 3 steps ahead: a Memory Deluge, a Sunfall, and a No More Lies. So there's a No More Lies for the second Imidanes, which was a very good draw if it resolved, and that's why, as I said, Cavern of Souls is so important in this matchup. If you can put Cavern on human there, then the 3 steps ahead and the No More Lies aren't acceptable answers to it, and then all of a sudden all of your 1 power things are then 2 power, so they can all attack, as opposed to Jenny not attacking at the minute, doesn't feel it's worth getting 5 damage in to lose 2 creatures, because then what do you do the next turn? Your opponent's at 9, 9 is greater than 0, and then you're just not in the position to attack at all.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a swing with the team.
Yeah, so I think this is more a case of Jenny has recognised that we are in desperation mode at this point. It's going to be quite difficult for her to win the game from here, so she needs to get aggressive, get on the front foot, hope that maybe Sam makes a mistake, doesn't block quite correctly, or the hand is just 3 lands and you can hopefully get in for enough.
Yeah, still activities. I mean, Epicure is cool. Epicure is another little 1- trigger. The blood will be a draw engine, probably an end step here. Plenty of cardboard to play with.
Yeah, the blood's not bad. It mitigates the downside of Jenny drawing a land for her next turn, when we're at the situation where she really, really needs to just keep the pressure on and just keep casting spells, keep forcing Sam to use his cards semi-efficiently, or at least not efficiently at all. And we do actually see a march on the blood as opposed to one of the 1/1s. So Sam not really concerned with the battlefield as it is. So I did see a farewell in hand
and
as
the
well.
mana to cast it.
What we might see, yeah, so we've got the 6 land as well. So what we might even see is land, farewell, just wipe the entire board. No, we don't. Okay, that's interesting. So Sam's leaving up Restless Anchorage as a blocker, I believe.
So we're getting in for the... No, we're Knight Erranting. Okay, so that's a 3 steps ahead. Now that just straight counters.
yeah, another situation where Cavern of Souls would have been an amazing get to have. So that is a full 3 steps ahead. So we're copying the Samurai and countering the Knight Errant. So we're now at the point really where it's looking like Jen can't win the game. There's a Memory Deluge in the graveyard, so that Field of Ruin that was just drawn, that's the 7th mana to cast it if needs be. The Samurais do have Vigilance, so they're able to do double duty here.
There's no counter spell though.
Attack in.
Like Immodane's Recruiter would be a great draw, because we still.
It would. So there is a Memory Deluge in hand which can find counter spells, obviously, and having. So I think that was a pass from Jen. So there was a Memory Deluge on end step. Looking at the top 7, taking whichever 2 that you want. It's a Temporary Lockdown, and that might have been a Wandering Emperor. I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, this is it's getting to the point where Jenny's being brave. She's fighting it out, knowing she's on camera. She's not one to scoop early, ever, let alone when she is on camera.
Yeah, this is one of those ones where you called it right earlier as well. Like you almost like you're wanting to do the mistake. A Temporary Lockdown at all here feels like a play, but then it does wipe the whole board down to just the Tiebinder. So and then again, like as you mentioned about like good top decks, like it doesn't actually stop you losing a race. So I think this might just be slow and steady again, farm control.
I actually really like the double block there on one of the Samurai where Jen's mitigating her own life total bleed, and your opponent's just cast a Memory Deluge and looked at the top 7. The fact that it's likely that they've got a Temporary Lockdown is pretty high. So she's understood that attack is possibly signifying a Temporary Lockdown.
Okay, and we're hitting the Gleeful Demolition.
Yeah, so that was a Gleeful Demolition on the clue token made off of Deduce. So Jen, again, trying her best to absolutely maximize the spells in her hand and just try and keep Sam off of being able to cast spells, and just hoping that all of the million cards that he's looked at this game have just all been misses somehow.
But you know what? It was fantastic recognition, because it took until that last draw to actually hit Normalize. It was definitely gonna. The reason for digging through as they was purely because they needed it. They needed the extra spells. However, lining a play up, Immodane's Recruiter.
No more lies drawn just in time for that one, yeah, and Jenny scoops it up. So, yeah, it's a really brave fight there from Jen. It was closer than it looked at times, because Sam did end up at 8, and as you said, took quite a long time to get to those counter spells. So it's the control deck operates on sorcery speed a lot more than it would initially appear, where Temporary Lockdown, sorcery speed, Sunfall, Farewell, all of these things are sorcery speed. The only real instant speed things they've got are a couple of Get Lost, the Wandering Emperors, and the counter spells, which is, again, another reason why Cavern of Souls is so important in this matchup.
Yeah, it very much is. Interesting, like, turn of events, really, with Standard's rotation. This Convoke deck loses only one major piece, but a major piece in Voldaren Epicura. It ideally would be replaced by a 1-drop human, but we're not going to see one in this set because everybody's a furry. So the Cavern of Soul for human is relevant to all of the deck other than that. So maybe we see something. Maybe we see Soldier. Soldier's another, like, I believe there's going to be mice soldiers in this upcoming set with bloomburrow. So maybe we'll see a replacement for that card. Because other than that, the deck's pretty unhit. Unlike our control friend on the left-hand side, who loses Memory Deluge, they lose Wandering Emperor. This deck, which is very, very strong right now, very, very nerfed in just over a month's time.
Yeah, I think the damaged Convoke is bigger than a lot of people are making out. Losing Voldaren Epicura is a really, really big hit, and the deck did not exist in Standard before Novice Inspector was printed. So it's a case of this deck will not exist in its current form post-rotation. It will have to look very, very different. They won't be anywhere near as explosive or as consistently explosive on turn 2. And as you said, the blue-white control deck, it loses a huge amount. People understate the impact of things like Iganjo and Otawara, even in the blue-white control deck as well.
Yeah. Oh, yes, because we lose those lands, don't we?
We lose a surprising amount of stuff.
And that's a brilliant segue into talking today about our sponsor, Bulkbox UK. Bulkbox makes some of the best quality TCG storage units that you can buy. They fit inside an IKEA Calyx, and they are perfect for storing all of those cards ready for standard rotation. You can go to bulkboxuk.co.uk and put the code OLDEMO10, where you can get 10% off your order with free shipping. We love them here on the channel, and we think you will too. Also, if you look to buy any gear, anything for bloomburrow, commander decks, even if you're into Warhammer, at the moment there is a 5% off sale if you spend over £50 directly with Firestorm as well. So that link will give a little bit of a kickback to the channel, but you can also get some discounts too if you act now. Thank you ever so much for just being here though. Just subscribing is free, and if we don't make great videos and you don't like what you see popping up in your feed, you can always unsubscribe. But it's a pleasure to have you here. We do content 2 to 3 times a week. And you can also check us out on twitch.tv/oldemodave, where sometimes we're streaming other stuff as well. For now, we're going to get back to the action. We're going to drop you in with Scott, but I'm OldEmoDave. Thanks for being here, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
Jenny opened on a Cavern of Souls this game, so it's going to look very, very, very different here, where it looks like Sam's played 2 Restless Anchorages in a row as well. So Sam is playing tap lands, and Jenny has had quite an effective draw here.
Wow. Yes, this is Convoke just doing Convoke things, and I like that it's got a bit of a glass cannon to it to temporary lockdown, because it does make you have to risk reward, right? Because this board gets temporary lockdown now, then you still got a 4/4, right? And that's fine. Like, you'll take that trade-off all day, because you've also dug into your deck for 2 more cards. This would be my only thing on this play. Like, that extra 1 dropout potentially risky, because well, yeah, there we go. Right, we see a temporary lockdown. So, but it's when the adrenaline is going, it's hard to not want to commit to the board and get them dead.
Actually, I disagree. I think that was a really, really sound play, because I can see a Get Lost in Jenny's hand, which can destroy the temporary lockdown at instant speed.
Then I do take it back. That was a great play. So, because that is also the sort of sideboarded effect you do have with Get Lost, is you can get everything back. And when you get everything back, it's good.
And Jen is the deck that's able to use maps. So when we see Get Lost out of the blue-white deck, there's a much bigger cost for it, for the blue-white control deck to use that card. Whereas Convoke using it against control, there's not a huge amount in the blue-white control deck that can effectively use those maps.
And they're not mapping anything, are they?
Yeah, well, sometimes like a Samurai token or a Tidebinder if those have stayed in, but it's also it's sorcery speed, it's using their mana, and Jen has answered a 3-mana Wrath and immediately just vomited a huge amount of cards onto the board again. So we're now in a situation where Sam again needs a temporary lockdown to answer this.
I know, and this is where Warden of the Inner Sky was a brilliant addition to this deck as well. I think we mentioned obviously Novice Inspector earlier, but I think Warden gave it the additional gas. This is a great card, and gets things done when you've got lots of game pieces to play with.
Yeah, Warden's a hidden Convoker. It's the second one, obviously. The second Pioneer uses Venerated Loxodon to great effect. We only have 1 5-mana Convoke spell in Standard in the Knight Errant of Eos, and that is the worst one in the Pioneer deck. So Warden, little hidden piece. When that gets 3 counters on it, it becomes a 4/5 flying Vigilant. That is bigger than a Serra Angel, and it costs 1 mana.
Yeah, this is a lot of damage coming through. Doesn't look like there's much. There is a Sunfall, but is there mana? I could not see it.
I think Sam took this because I think he has a Memory Deluge in hand. So Memory Deluge, find the land to cast the Sunfall, but the follow-up is Urabrask's Forge. So that's not answered by Temporary Lockdown. That's not answered by Sunfall. And yeah, I think Jen is at the point now where it's Temporary Lockdown or other Wrath or bust for Sam, and she knows that.
Yep, you just take the triggers. You just take the triggers on the Warden. You just try and make that top deck good. Here comes the Wrath, making sense. Now they are tapped out, so they're not going to be able to respond to any hasty attacks here.
Yeah, so it doesn't answer the clues noticeably as well. So Jen will be able to get 2 cards back from those clues, and we know the Forge is getting in for at least 1 damage. 4 damage is a bit of a tricky amount for this deck to pocket. Imodane's Recruiter by itself is 3.
Yeah.
So 3 plus 1, that's 4. That's not quite where you want to be. So Jen just getting in for 1 with the Forge. It doesn't look like there's any huge follow-up. There is a Gleeful Demolition, so we could even see that cast on the Incubator. There is a Warden. No, she's going for the clue, so she's trying to go wide around it. So she's hoping that there isn't another answer for the Warden and the board that she's making. So that Gleeful can get pointed at the Incubator.
Just highlighted, I think, prior to doing the Gleeful that there was enough game objects to activate the Warden at least once.
Yeah, I think that was Jen went to cast the Gleeful Demolition, said "oops," because
can I?
Yeah, she.
It was.
She hasn't made
again,
the tokens off the Gleeful Demolition, I don't think.
No,
she has cast the Gleeful Demolition on the clue and not made any tokens.
Has not done that. Okie dokie. Let's.
I think, as you said, she's very focused on what she needs to be doing to win the game. Where if she made those tokens, she could have tapped them to the Warden and made the Warden a flyer. But she did have Resolute Reinforcements with a Cavern as well, so what we might see here is the token and the clue and the Resolute Reinforcements tapped, and the Warden go to the skies. But there is a march to answer the Warden, so we're still on the go wide plan.
Yeah, absolutely. Did it get counted? No, it didn't get counted.
No, it didn't. I think Jen just missed it because she wanted to do the slight rewind to go, oops, sorry, I wanted to do the Warden first. She's then put the Gleeful in the graveyard and gone, right, okay, I've done what I need to do, and just completely forgotten about the tokens.
And Tiebinder on this Urabrask trigger has hit the Tiebinder, has hit the Urabrask, so the Urabrask is functionally offline right now.
This game would look very different with 3 more Phyrexian Goblins on Jen's side of the battlefield. War Leader's Call is quite a good draw, but Jen's been casting all of her spells through Cavern of Souls all game, so it's likely that Sam had a counterspell just rotting in his hand. So there was the No More Lies ready for that.
Have to jam though, right? You have to jam because it's game winning there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Making the blocks. You definitely save your 7 damage there. Elish Norn, wowzers.
So Elish Norn is surprisingly good against the Convoke deck. It actually shuts down Resolute Reinforcements, it shuts down Imodane's Recruiter, it shuts down Knight Errant of Eos. If you have time to get that very powerful 5-drop onto the board, it does basically just win the game by itself. It is a 4/7, so they can't attack through it, and it shuts down everything the deck would want to be doing. And a Boombringer Valkyrie. So Sam has just brought in absolute haymakers. That's giving the Incubator lifelink and the Elish Norn lifelink. So we're doubling up on the Enter the Battlefield trigger because of Elish Norn, and the Handshake is extended.
Wow. Very, very interesting set of events. Azorius Control, especially when piloted well, is always a threat. Sam had good sequencing and great timing there to put themselves in a position that they were in control, apart from the top of the Convoke deck, and unfortunately the top of the Convoke deck was not kind in enough situations there for Jen to get the dubs. What are we seeing post rotation, Scott? We think both archetypes are staying around, or are we gonna see them both flitter into tier 2 and T3 whilst we're starting to play Otter Tribal?
I think blue-white control will probably end up moving more tempo-y as opposed to more heavy control. So losing the Wandering Emperor is a huge hit, but cards like Tidebinder are still really, really, really powerful. Losing Memory Deluge is a really big hit. There's not really anything that you can compare to it in Standard currently, unless you want to play Intrude on the Mind, which was the fact or fiction mythic that makes a token for the amount of cards that go to graveyard. But that's not the level that you really want to be on. In terms of Convoke, I mean, losing Epicure is huge for the deck. I'm not sure it will exist in the same form. We might see it go mono-white and just be mono-white aggro. It might be mono-white humans to truly make use of 4 Cavern of Souls as opposed to this version which only plays 2. And you lose a couple of sideboard bits, a couple of things in the main. Maybe it splashes red for Immodane's Recruiter, just because that card is so powerful. But the sideboard options for white are still good. And the options for blue-white, slightly more limited post-rotation, but there's still a lot of powerful cards in Standard. People shouldn't rest on their laurels and think that it's going to be low power just because we're going down to 9 sets. 9 sets is still quite a big standard.
Very big standard. Very, very quickly we'll be back to 12 with many, many interesting things such as Rabbit Generals, Spirit Horrors, and also the return of the good old Llanowar Elves. Thank you everybody very much. Thank you everybody for watching. We are very, very, very close to 350 subs. So if you are still here or you've got to the end of the video, a sub will be cool. And maybe we'll do a little giveaway. You know, just get us up there as quick as we can. Thank you, Scott. We'll see you all on the next one. I hope you're looking forward to the furry set.